Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 30.
Episode 30. We are middle-aged.
Is that going to show up the right direction?
Pre-middle-aged. Well, how about we'll do it. Well, we'll do it opposite of each other, and one of us will be right.
Episode 30 or 3003.
3003.
What if we make it into the thousands?
Dude, that would be legit. I'd be really old then.
Yeah, if we do an episode a week. Yeah, that's a long time. I'm not going to do the math right now because that'd be embarrassing for you guys to see.
Yeah.
How well I am at math.
Yeah, how good I am at grammar. There's that.
Yeah, I hope you guys had a good spring break.
I did.
We're doing a podcast here. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I was trying to look up something. I can't do it on the fly.
Playing Doodle Jump
again.
Trying
Doodle Jump Deluxe. I don't know if you noticed my hat or not.
Yeah, Big Daddy.
Old Big Daddy Weave.
Big Daddy Weave.
Hanging out with Mike Weaver over the spring break.
You know, none of our audience listens to Big Daddy Weave.
You should.
Unless it's by accident on K-Love.
I bet Shane does.
Shane probably does. That's true.
They've been a band for 25 years.
Yeah, that's why none of our audience listens to them.
Yeah, but people know their songs.
Yeah, single one.
So
what's their most popular?
Currently most popular?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably My Story.
Okay. That's a good one.
I would think.
Yep.
Or the Yours Is the Name.
Oh, yeah.
That one's pretty popular, too.
In my head, them, Mercy Me, and Casting Crowns. I can pick out Casting Crowns, but all three of them are very similar.
Yeah. I think Mercy Me and Big Daddy Weave have a similar sound for sure.
Yeah.
And like vocally, they sound similar as well. They're probably similar in age, too.
I saw him live once at Amplify.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of sleeping on him a little bit because I was like thinking, I've seen Big Daddy Weave before.
Yeah.
They're an older band.
Yeah.
And we mainly went for the opening acts.
Yeah.
Hannah Kerr is one of Anna's favorite artists.
Yeah.
And Austin French was there as well.
Yeah.
Both of them are relatively new. That's really the reason we went. And I was like, it's not going to be bad. But they actually, it was really good. They did really, really well. They've honed their craft over the 25 years that they've been together.
Starting to figure some things out.
Yeah, starting to. And the song on this hat is one of my favorites of all time that they did, Redeemed.
Song on the hat. I thought you said song on the sat. I didn't know what that was.
Song on my hat. That's why Redeemed. Yeah, that's probably my favorite song they've ever done.
That's the one they do in the Cardboard Testimony that Renewal Ranch does.
Yes.
They do it to that song.
Yep. It's a good song.
Yep.
It's a good song. So, but it was a good concert. We got third row, really close. We actually got to meet Hannah Kerr.
Nice.
And I got to take her picture with her, and
she had her sweatshirt on Sunday.
Yeah.
Signed sweatshirt.
She did. She did. And she posted a picture of them two on her story on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Hannah Kerr reposted it.
Yeah.
On her story. So Anna was pretty excited about that. So
big time.
Anyway, that was our adventures for spring break, along with a good old round of golf.
Yeah. Jason is
I'm becoming something of a golf
on his way to becoming a scratch golfer.
Sometimes things get itchy while we're out there. And the pollen and everything.
Jason is he did great.
It was fun.
Tell him how well y'all did in a 4-man scramble.
Well, let's back up for a moment. I participated in a church golf tournament.
Yeah.
The previous weekend.
Yeah.
Comprised of me, my son, and
they haven't heard about any of this. We haven't recorded a podcast.
Oh yeah, we haven't done a podcast. So we did this. Most people at the shop have heard about it just from us talking about it there. But me, my 11, about to be 12-year-old son, Emmett and Joel and Parker, which are both about as avid golfers as I am, which is not that. So we're all terrible golfers. We signed up for this 18-hole tournament. Took us about 6.5 hours to finish.
Which is 2.5 hours after everyone else.
Yeah, it was so long. It was, towards the end I was like, this was fun, but I'm ready to be done. So, but yeah, we got a loose 101.
Yeah.
We made up our own rules a little bit along the way.
And still shot a 101.
And still shot a 101. The rules were not necessarily to our advantage.
The story's gotten around. I was talking to soon-to-be brother-in-law, and I was talking about we're in a golf tournament, and he goes, "Wait, you're not the team that shot a 101, are you?"
Yes.
And I was like, "No, that wasn't us." And he was like, "I had a guy at work tell me about East Union's golf tournament, and there was a team who shot a 101 in a 4-man scramble." Yeah, I don't know how he knows.
I felt good about it. I don't know. I honestly was expecting like a 130 or a 140.
Yeah.
I did text my wife after we were done, and I was like, "Hey, it was a lot of fun. We got the highest score." And she's like, "Awesome, that's so great."
Yeah,
it's like it's not in golf,
not that good,
but
thanks though.
But yeah, so vast improvements were made within about a 5-day period.
Wait, I called because everybody was worried about your team.
Yeah.
And so I began calling you guys to see where y'all were.
Yeah.
We'd already had the award ceremony. It was just assumed that y'all didn't win any of the awards.
Oh, yeah.
And so I called and I got a hold of Parker. And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "We just finished, and it's kind of a ghost town here. I don't know where everybody is." It's like, "Well, we already cleaned up, packed up,
went
we're
home
over here grilling burgers." And I said, "How'd it go?" And he said, "It was good. We got 3 pars."
Yeah, that was an accomplishment. The other ones were not close to pars at all. So it was the little compartment on my golf bag that carries like the big compartment, I had it completely full of balls.
Yeah.
By the time we were done, I had 4 left. And that was after like digging some out of the ditch and yeah, I lost a lot of balls that day. Or we did collectively, but yeah. But then fast forward about 5 days later, and feeling pretty good about I hit some balls out in the yard. Felt like I made some vast improvements. Did another 4-man scramble on that following Thursday. Came out with a 68.
Totally different team, by the way.
Yeah, we don't have to tell people that.
It's not the same team.
But
this team involved Matt.
Yeah, which is he's an excellent golfer, and it was still me and Emmett, but also Nick was on this one, and Nick's better than the 4 of us that were on that team.
Yeah,
but Matt was.
Yeah,
Matt definitely carried the team. But Emmett got a birdie on the last by himself on the last hole. So
solo bird.
For all you golfers out there that know what that means.
I finally broke 100.
Yeah.
Yep. Haven't been able to do that in a year.
Like solo score.
Yeah, solo score. Shot a 95.
Yeah. I'll be there one day.
I'm heading for the PGA Tour.
Yeah. I contracted a little bit of golf elbow.
It's contagious.
While I was out, and but it's getting better.
It's good.
So
it's good. Well,
that's where we're at. That's where we're at in life these days.
Yeah, it's been a good.
I almost said something that I shouldn't have said because I mixed up letters, but I fixed it. I caught it before it came out. I was trying to get out of the barn and I caught it.
It's been a good week
Yeah.
of rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
does anybody say juvenated?
Yeah, and then you could be juvenated again. That's rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to go juvenate. Is that
I don't think that's the way you would use it.
just got juvenated? Is that? Oh, it sounds painful. But we got a little rejuvenation
Yeah.
that happened this week.
Yeah.
And yeah. So which kind of led us to our topic today.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
And we've discussed some other things that I think kind of we've actually I think talking about this before, but
Yeah,
we
we
just didn't jump in. But our subject matter today is like biblical rest,
Yeah.
like Sabbath.
Yeah.
Kind of what does that mean? Like to us in modern Christianity, I think, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but I think most of us kind of have an idea, maybe, of what like the Sabbath meant in the Old Testament. But we'll clarify a few of those things. I think will help us in our conversation today. But really, I think, what does it mean for us? What does rest, like biblical rest, look like for us today? I think that's what we want to dig into a little bit today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know about you growing up. Excuse me. Whenever we were like, I guess, learning the 10 Commandments, and you get to honor the Sabbath, which is Commandment 10, I think. I think I was taught, or at least I understood. I don't know that I was necessarily taught this, but at least this is what I understood growing up, is that just meant you went to church on Sunday. I think that's what I grasped as a 9, 10, 11, 12, however old. And probably throughout some of middle school and high school years, whenever we're going through the 10 Commandments, and what does it mean to honor the Sabbath? Well, it means I go to worship service on Sunday.
Yeah, because it's changed. Old Testament was Saturday, New Testament Sunday.
Yeah.
So your Sabbath
that probably just blew some minds.
Has shifted.
Yeah. Yeah. Jewish Sabbath, Shabbat.
Yep. Shabbat
is Saturday. Do you know why they switched to Sunday worship rather than Saturday rest?
'Cause that's when the early church was meeting, and they were, and I think it was called the Lord's Day.
Yeah. Do you know why they did it on Sunday?
And it was around the resurrection, right?
Yeah, resurrection. Yeah, that's why they began worshiping on Sunday.
Yeah, they started kind of meeting after.
That ties in spring break and Easter.
And Easter, boom, double tie.
Yeah, shoes aren't coming untied now.
No, they are
double
zip
knotted.
tied.
Yeah. But would you agree with that? Like, was that probably your experience as well?
Yeah, I definitely, that was what I understood. Whether that was what was relayed to me or not,
right?
I don't know.
What I'm thinking. Yeah,
but I also, like, even further than that, I was, so when I grew up, we took a nap every Sunday. Like, we would go eat at my grandmother's house after church. She'd cook us a meal, and then we would go take, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hour nap before we went back to church that night.
That's a sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. That was like our family.
Probably wasn't that great for you as a kid.
When I was younger, like Emmett's age and below, like 10, 9, 8, around in that range, I probably didn't like it that much, that I had to do that. But I guess that as I got a little bit older, I got to where I look forward to it.
Yeah.
But and I remember even, like, as I got older, teenager, like high school, and I could drive, I would plan things on Sunday afternoon to do with my friends, and my parents would, like, not like that at all.
Yeah.
That I was not
sleeping.
I was not Sabbathing. I wasn't resting on the Sabbath day.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of our family tradition, if you will. But it was kind of with that thought process behind it, that, like, you don't do a lot of stuff on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of just ingrained in my mind. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. But knowing what I know now, and I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, that I'm refuting what you taught me as a kid. But and like I said, there's nothing wrong with like taking a Sunday. I love Sunday. I love Sunday naps.
Oh, that's my
they,
favorite.
They are some of the greatest naps. But I don't know that that's what the real purpose was. I guess. I think. I mean, if the more I learn about the Sabbath and kind of the reasoning behind it, and I don't know that was it.
Yeah.
Again, not that it was bad, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know that was what we were doing.
All right, so maybe I don't know what questions you have, but maybe we can go that direction. Like, what originally was the Sabbath?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? What was it for the Jewish people? Maybe go that direction.
Yeah. So we can go all the way back to like literally the beginning. And I think that's where the kind of the root of the idea was, that God kind of set an example for us. Not that he had to rest because he was tired,
right? But
he set an example for us, and on he created everything in 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, to show us. Help us understand how we were designed, I guess, physically. There's like the physical aspect of that.
Yeah.
Like we need space for rest.
Yeah.
But I think it goes much deeper than that. We'll get into that in a minute. I don't want to skip too far ahead. But so beginning, that was the example that God set. And then when it came time for the law,
he set apart the seventh day.
Yeah.
And declared it holy.
And so when it came time for the law, that was one of the commandments, like you said, to keep the Sabbath day holy. And it was really a time for, one, not to work.
Yeah.
But I think more so a time of focus and worship and kind of resting with God.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why that was built into the commandment as well. I think there's different aspects. There's a physical aspect to it, I think, but I think it's more spiritual.
Yeah. And the Lord took it very seriously, and so did the people of Israel at certain points in their history. But like shortly after they were given the command, and first one thing I think of too. The timing of the command is interesting. There was already the pattern that God set up, but it wasn't in the law until the days of Moses. That the people of Israel were coming out of Egyptian slavery, where they had to work every single day, probably 12 hours a day, to get things done for the nation of Egypt. And then they come out of that. And the Lord says, okay, you're going to get your work done in 6 days, but on the seventh day, you're going to rest. That had to have been completely against what they've been doing for the last 400 years.
Yeah. I mean, to the extent, too, like you were supposed to prepare your meals beforehand.
Yeah.
And, where you weren't supposed to cook. You weren't supposed to, like, really labor.
Yeah.
Of
that one guy early on in the story, he picks up sticks and the Lord kills him. Or the Lord has the people of Israel kill him. Yeah. So no, this is serious.
Yeah.
Like you need to take this day seriously. The seventh day is a day of rest, a day that you need to stop working and you need to simmer down a little bit, calm down, and just spend time with the Lord and your family. And so I think a question, and this gets into application of this, is does that command apply to us today?
I think yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I read an article just to kind of get a better, like, kind of understanding of the Old Testament Sabbath. I think I had a pretty good handle of it, but I just kind of wanted to solidify that a little bit before we got on here and talked about it. Yeah. And one of and this was from, I think it was from Bible Project that I was reading, but one of the things it said is that, like, for us, it's not a command as far as like a law, because we're not bound to the law anymore.
Right. We're free.
So through what Jesus did and fulfilling the law, we're not bound to that. But they kind of called it a promise that we're able to take part in.
Oh, that's good.
And so I like the way that was worded. I mean, it's not something that we have to do, but it was obviously important to God.
Yeah.
And so it's probably good that we do that in some way.
Yeah.
And now, does that mean that we set aside an entire day once a week, and it has to be on Sunday, and it has to be certain things that we do or don't do on that day? I don't know that that's the case.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case.
Right.
But I do think that we need to intentionally set up space for rest in our lives.
So,
and I'm terrible at that, by the way.
No, yeah. So I think what I'm understanding you to say is the Sabbath is an expectation for Christians, by principle, not necessarily by detail. Of like you need 24 hours on Sunday or the seventh day of the week, that you do nothing. But instead, like, no, every person is. We're not designed to work 24/7, 365. We need time to rest.
Yeah. And then, but it's not a box check kind of thing. Yeah. And I think we are taught that when Jesus, when the Pharisees approached Jesus, I think it was, Matthew, Mark, I had it written down, I think. But where they're complaining to him about healing someone on the Sabbath day, and they're complaining about his disciples like picking corn or grain or whatever it was on the Sabbath day because they needed food to eat. And he tells them that the Sabbath day was made for man, not man made for the Sabbath. And I think that's where we start to understand that, or what Jesus is teaching us is that it was like we're not to like mold to this rule, this unbreakable rule for the sake of that rule. That Sabbath was built for our benefit. Because God created us, He knows what we need, and He knows that we're not always the best at making those decisions on our own. And so it was created for us, not the other way around.
So what I think the question I have is like, what does that actually look like for us? And that's where I struggle to apply it, because we live in such a busy culture and in a busy world, and you're getting invites to go to places. Like, do we need to turn those invites down? We have stuff that we need to get done. We have homework that needs to get done. We have work that we have to get done. And for me, like Sunday's a hard day for me to set aside to rest, because Sunday's is a work day for us.
Right.
And so Saturday would maybe a better day to set aside to rest. But on Saturday we have stuff to get done. The lawn needs mowed, and
if you have kids, like there's more so if you have kids. I think there's something going on.
Especially if your kids are involved in any sort of athletics or extracurricular activities or concerts or band or anything like that.
I mean, even here, like during the season where we have like upward soccer and stuff like that, I mean, those things are great, but I mean that's half your Saturday right there. If being involved in that, and trying to set aside. For me, I think like setting aside a whole day is nearly impossible. I say that out loud. I mean, I say that like,
it would take,
if it's the right thing to do, you got to make a way to do it, I guess. But
it would take, and then your entire family getting on board with it and just
Yeah.
fighting through the struggle of making it happen.
Yeah, it would be very difficult
Yeah.
to make that a regular thing. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do. I'm not saying that's not what you need to do.
I think it would also require a very disciplined 6 days.
Oh, yeah. And I'm bad at that, too.
Yeah.
like time management.
Yeah.
And, my wife and I were just having this discussion yesterday.
She was telling you you're bad at time management?
Yeah. And I was agreeing because I know I am. So, but I know this is an excuse, but I do work well under pressure. But that is an excuse for me not to manage my time well.
Yeah.
I recognize that as well also.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know that it has to be a day. I don't know that it has to, I think it just needs to be regular.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be, in some sort of rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of, like a common, intentional time. And I really think like, for us, a Sabbath probably looks more like a daily quiet time than a nap. You know what I mean? Like,
But do you think that...
and I don't know if that's all that it needs to be. Like that's...
Yeah, like, do you think... I'm not convinced that 30 minutes a day
No. Yeah.
is going to give you the type of rejuvenation that God set up the Sabbath to give you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if I said, you know what, let's say... And I don't have any sort of Sabbath practice, so I'm like wondering what kind of practice I should have.
We're talking about stuff that we're terrible at. So, I mean, we are normally terrible at what we're talking about, but I speak for myself at least.
If you speak for both of us. If I decided to say, at the last 2 hours of my day are dedicated to Sabbath. And so I said from 7:30 to 9:30, I'm required to Sabbath during those 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't think that works either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna end up. I don't think it would work for our family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to do it. That sentence by itself is enough to say, but I don't know how, I don't know how to follow the pattern that God set up without it being a day that your family decides is a day of rest.
And I don't know how it again, it seems impossible for me to do that.
Yeah.
Like I know like I said, it's not like you have to make you'd have to make a huge sacrifice to do that, which maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
But our culture is so anti that.
Yeah.
And I've and I don't even mean just. I mean, yes, our culture at large, like the world's culture, is like that. But I think even within the Christian culture, if you will, it's not necessarily a praised thing to rest.
No.
No. It's hard work and working to the bone. Is more praised than hey, I need to take a break, guys.
Yeah.
And so I think I've been programmed that way. Probably from birth, I guess.
Yeah.
That it feels awkward.
Yeah.
And it feels like something's wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm not moving, if I'm not doing something, if I'm not working towards accomplishing something.
Yeah.
No matter how little or it may be, I still feel like I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like there's times where I want to I don't know, maybe we're just going to ramble on this podcast and try to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But there's times that I want to for lack of a better term, like veg out, like not think about anything, not do anything, just like do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's that either.
Well, it depends on what you mean by that. I think in the rules of the Sabbath, I think a nap is allowed. Like if we went Old Testament rules, in the rules of the Sabbath, I think a nap is allowed. I think what's not good. Let me go with that. I think a nap can be good. Let me say that.
Can be.
I think what would be detrimental to us, and I think this is the reason why so many of us are exhausted and anxious, is because our time of rest is often filled with sinful entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like our version of vegging out, to use your term, is binge watching Netflix shows.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That and I think there's room for a movie. I think there's room for a show if it's a movie that you and your family want to watch together that honors the Lord. And I don't necessarily mean you have to watch Facing the Giants. I mean it just can't be anything that pulls your attention away from the Lord.
Yeah. And I mean to go back to like as a kid, as a teenager, when I was forced to rest every Sunday. And take a nap. I know a lot of that time that I was laying there in bed supposed to be napping. I wasn't like thinking about holy things, right. I wasn't I mean they not necessarily bad things, but they weren't
holy things.
I wasn't like trying to spend time with God.
Right.
I was sitting there, thinking about what I was going to do the next day or what I was going to do when I got up or who I was going to hang out with or what show I was going to watch, whatever. And so I even within that, I wasn't using that for what it probably needed to be used for, I guess. So I still don't know that we answered.
I don't know if this helps any of this.
So
I think we often are sinfully busy.
Yes. Yeah.
In everyday life. Like something fascinating about Jesus is he was easily interruptible. Like a lady touches his garment and he's on a hurry to get to the next city, but he pauses and says, "Hold on, who touched me?" Like in the
middle of a crowd.
And he pauses, "Hold on, who touched me?" And I think most of us are probably far too busy to stop and have that conversation with somebody. We're like, I got to go. I got a class to get to. I got my shift starts in 30 minutes. I got to get there. I got to get lunch. I got to get home. I got to mow the yard. I got to whatever it may be. And I think most of us are probably sinfully busy to have any type of margin to do ministry. And I think the Sabbath fights against that. Remind you of rest and remind you of how good that rest is. But yeah, like to have a day, it seems so awesome, but so out of reach.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because we're a product of the American culture more than we're a product of the kingdom of heaven. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't have like the answer. To like I want to. And I think that like I experience some of those times.
Yeah.
Where I feel like I'm resting and I'm focusing on God, whether I'm out in creation and just really kind of taking some time to just think about God and what he's done and what he's done for me and my family and for like humanity at large. Just the awesomeness of his creation. I think that's really kind of in the vein of what Sabbath is.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I do that from time to time.
Right.
But to say that I do that intentionally and regularly, and there's
Right.
some sort of rhythm to that in my life, which I
Right.
think is what God intends
Right. I
for
agree.
us.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I know how to create that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have that answer for anybody today. But if that's what you're looking for, whatever Tanner decides to call this podcast,
Yeah.
then it may not be that. So you may not get what you came for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do. So kind of to shift it a little bit, because I mean I think we will both openly admit that we don't have the answer to that.
Yeah.
That we'd like to have the answer to
Yeah.
that. What would help us? Is that the wind outside blowing?
Yeah. The shop may blow over at any
Yeah.
time.
So if like a tumbleweed goes across the background, is that what happens?
Yeah. I think if the shop falls over, you'll see a tumbleweed first.
Yeah. So because we're in the West, the wild, wild West.
I saw a video in Utah
Yeah.
of like a tumbleweed invasion.
Oh,
It was
nice.
like it had to pull out bulldozers and like bulldoze the streets because there were tumbleweeds everywhere.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
No.
That's what that makes me think of. But anyway, we're back, guys. So we openly admit that we struggle with this, don't have the answer to it. What do you think are some things that can kind of help us move towards that?
Ooh, okay.
Maybe that'll
Yeah.
be something that we could halfway accomplish on this podcast.
Yeah,
Is at least
yeah.
point ourselves and others in the right direction
Yeah.
to maybe get there.
Yeah. I think time in silence. I think we need to practice time in silence, like away from your phone, away from entertainment. Like if you have to, go on a walk without any sort of electronics and just get used to not having to constantly fill your brain with entertainment. I think that's probably good. I didn't mean to shoot down your quiet time
No,
conversation earlier.
No, I was just saying that's,
think that's
probably
good.
closer to
Yeah.
it than maybe
Yeah.
some of the other things that
I think quiet time is good, like a focused quiet time, not like I got to get this done, I'm in a hurry, but no, like give yourself plenty of time to hear from the Lord and to speak to the Lord. I think a very disciplined day that allows you to relax on one day of the week or in the evening of each day, I think is necessary. Like for me, it's hard for me to relax whenever there's 10 things I still need to get done. Before whatever time, whatever day, before Sunday, before next week, whatever it may be. And I know that some of that stuff could have been done already if I had been more disciplined. Yeah. I think an understanding of you are not defined by how much you get done helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that for sure.
Yeah.
I think that comment in itself, I think, is part of why I went ahead and threw this out to you because, like I said, we've talked about this before, and I'm like, nah, I don't think I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I think just over the last few weeks, just some of the stuff that I think going through, like, and we've said before, like in my life group, we're going through Romans. On Thursday nights, we're going through Galatians. Mm-hmm. Very similar situation that Paul is addressing.
Romans is the unabridged version of Galatians.
Yeah, I mean, we're in, we just did chapter 12 on Sunday, yesterday. And part of, I think all of this was just starting to click a little bit with me. and like I ask myself this question, like why do I have this strong desire to stay busy? Like
Yeah.
why do I feel like I need to work all the time?
Yeah.
And I think I'm beginning to think, and maybe I'm wrong in this, and you can correct me if I'm completely off base here, but I'm beginning to think that some of it is rooted in what we've been talking about, is that we still feel like we have to work for God's favor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
And now I know there's like the regular busyness of our life, but like if we're looking at like we have to stay busy all the time, we're still, there's someone we're trying to please.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's
yeah.
ourselves or our family or,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
we still got to work, and we feel like that's how we're defined, is by our work. That kind of bleeds over into our Christian life, and we think that that's how God sees us, is how much we work or don't work, even after
Yeah.
we're saved. And if this makes any sense, maybe I'm rambling, but
That's all this is.
yeah,
This
today's a ramble. I'm
50 minutes of rambling.
Yeah, I'm working all this out in my brain while we're here, but anyway, so I'll try to make this. I'll try to tie this up. Okay, so I think that if we look at the Sabbath and what it is, and I never really thought about this before until the last, I don't know, week or so, but the Sabbath is really a picture of the gospel.
100%. Hebrews talks about that.
And I never really thought. I mean, maybe I've read it and I didn't. But like it's starting to click more with me.
Yeah.
Like to understand that the work has already been done.
Yeah.
The work is finished.
Yeah.
And I know Hebrews talks about that. I mean, when Jesus sat down, he was done. It was a one-time deal. But I guess I never connected that.
Yeah.
To like the clear picture that the idea of the Sabbath gives of the gospel, and even from the beginning of time, this picture was painted.
Yep.
Before Jesus did anything.
Yep.
And to like try to understand how that all ties back. Romans 12 is where that it says so. One of the phrases in here, it says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you."
Yep.
And so I think if we can shift our attitude as to why we do work,
Right.
then maybe it'll help us to better understand the Sabbath and maybe better implement it.
Yeah.
I know that was a long way around to just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
But that's,
Yeah.
I think that's what's starting to kind of click in my brain.
Yeah.
That why am I working in the first place?
Yeah.
I'm not working to earn anything. I'm not working to earn God's favor. I'm not working to make Him love me more. I'm working to as a response to what He's done.
Right.
And so if I truly understand that my work is a response to what He's done, then I should also be able to understand that just spending time with Him
Yeah.
is equally important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where I'm starting to.
Right. It's the Mary and Martha story.
Yeah.
Where Jesus says Mary, who's sitting at the feet of Jesus, is doing something better than Martha, who's in there doing the dishes.
Yeah.
That we work hard. Christians should work hard. We work heartily as to the Lord, the Scripture says.
Yeah.
But not for our Heavenly Father's approval, but because we already have our Heavenly Father's approval. And so we work hard because of what Christ has done for us, not in order to earn salvation, but because we have salvation. But I think we also, let's return back to our catchphrase now, we rest hard.
Yeah, work hard, rest hard.
Yeah, because of what Christ he's already done the work. And so like there's, even if I work 7 days a week for 10 years in a row, what good is it?
Yeah.
Like Ecclesiastes, like it talks about that. Like you're just, even if you build the biggest buildings in the world, you're gonna hand it over to somebody who cares nothing about those buildings, and they're gonna tear them down.
Right.
Even if you become the CEO of a company, that becomes one of the most successful companies of this generation, you're going to one day hand it over to somebody, and you're not going to be able to take it with you. And so we work hard because of what Christ has done, but we also rest hard, knowing that we can't take any of this with us.
Yeah.
That goes completely against, I think, the culture we're living in right now.
Yeah. Well, I think we can slip into like I think when you start slipping into that mindset where you're trying to earn God's favor and that kind of stuff, then that's when you start to forget about the importance of spending time with Him. And it's almost like even if it's like ministry work.
Yeah.
Then
yes.
that
100%.
that work almost like becomes your God. Like that's what you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to make it bigger and better and do more and be more, and you've lost sight of why you're doing that in the first place. It's you've forgotten that it's a response to what God has already done.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I got some ground to make up, and I gotta do better and bigger things, so God will approve of me, so my family will approve of me, so the people that I work with will approve of me. And we just get lost in that.
This isn't my quote. I think I'm stealing it from John Mark Comer, who writes a ton about rest and the Sabbath. And if you want to read his stuff, it's very good. He has a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry that's all about this. But I think it's a quote in that book that says it's entirely possible to build a successful ministry while being unfaithful to your Heavenly Father.
Yeah. You get so, you know how to do that.
Yes.
But you get so caught up in that work
right.
that you completely lose sight of why you're doing it and who
right.
you're doing it for.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's super easy. I think that's a trap from the enemy that is so easy to fall into.
Yeah, somebody said, and this may be John Mark Comer as well, if the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. And I think that's what many of us are involved in.
And like you said before, the Sabbath is like our weapon against that.
Yeah. Yep.
And when we kind of throw that weapon to
we
the side,
don't work for the Pharaoh anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like to go to the Egyptian slavery, set up the Sabbath after that. Like we're not trying to build pyramid and a sphinx so that the kingdom of Egypt can have so much glory. No, we work for the kingdom of heaven now. And in the kingdom of heaven, the work's already been done. Jesus Christ is setting up a kingdom for us, a home for us. And we just get to rest in what Jesus has already accomplished. Yeah.
That's easier said than done, for sure. Oh, yeah.
I think rest as a principle is something we should all work towards.
Yes.
To set up margin in our lives for there to be time of rest, not to sit there and scroll through social media or binge watch a Netflix show, but rest in the Lord's direction, rest to the Lord. Where it's a God honoring rest, and some of that time can be spent in prayer, some of that time can be spent in reading scripture, some of that time can be spent with friends. But just a day where you're not trying to accomplish anything, you're just with Jesus throughout your entire day in everything that you do.
And I know we opened up with this big talk about our golf tournament. I honestly think that probably that 6.5 hours that I spent on the golf course with my son and with my brothers in Christ was probably closer to Sabbathing than I've done in a long time. Just spending time with them and just enjoying creation, enjoying company, conversation. That's probably closer to it than anything I've done in a long time.
And for others, they care so much about golf that a day on the golf course is the farthest thing away.
And I did
Sabbath.
not care. I was just hitting a ball
because they're saying words that shall not be said after every swing. Yeah.
For us, we were just having. I mean, we were
Yeah.
just taking our
Yeah.
time having fun.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Sabbath's probably different for everybody.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I think so. I think, yeah, I think so. There's a passage, I don't remember, Romans, Galatians, somewhere. The Apostle Paul says, some people regard one day as more important than others. And it says, let each one be convinced in their own mind. And my understanding of that is that he's talking about practices such as the Sabbath. Some people believe and are convinced that you should Sabbath on Saturday, and that's okay for them. Some people believe and are convinced that it should be an hour a day, and that's okay for them. Regardless, I think what you said earlier is it should be a rhythm and a habit of rest that each of us have. Yep.
yeah, so hope that answered all your questions.
Rest harder.
Rest harder.
Yeah.
That's what our new shirts are gonna be.
Merch.
They're gonna be say rest hard on the front and on the back, rest harder.
With our faces.
Yes. Just taking a nap.
Jason and I
Just on a cot.
yeah, the same one.
It's a big one though. There's plenty of room to rest.
Like two little dogs. Just napping
Like
there
those
together.
little those little dog beds with the Sherpa
I would
stuff
love
on the
it.
inside.
Wouldn't
of
you
it.
love to have?
I think they make big ones like for humans to sleep in.
I think a bed is probably close to what we're talking about, like just a human bed. But there's something about a dog bed.
Like the dog bed has like walls on it.
Yeah, I'm not really in danger of falling off.
I mean,
Also, I
I'm
think I
not-
would burn up. If
Yeah,
I
I
was
would
in some
get
of those
hot.
fuzzy beds.
it'll get hot. I'm not in danger of falling out, but I do like the security of if I were, I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a good sentence.
There you go.
If I were, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho,
So, well, thanks, guys.
hope you kittens had a good day.
Yeah.
Hope the shop doesn't blow over.
Yeah, if it does,
Look out for tumbleweeds.
Tumbleweed Nation.
That's the name. That's what we call our listeners.
Yeah, the Tumbleweed Nation. We just know you're just the tumbleweeds. Y'all just roll on through and check out the podcast. Keep on rolling.
Yeah. Leave us a review.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, review. You can review this podcast on Apple Podcast.
Tell us your favorite rolling plant.
You can also You can also.
Are there other weeds besides tumbleweeds that
I don't know that
move?
I think a tumbleweed. I don't know that that's a specific plant.
I think it is.
I think
Like
it's
a species.
I think it's just a ball of dead plants that have somehow congregated together and they're just rolling around. But who knows? I'm not a cowboy.
It's like a plant party.
Yeah.
Do we know any cowboys? Our listeners?
Who's the closest to a cowboy?
We're going to ask Parker.
Is he a cowboy?
I bet he can be.
We got to know somebody that's closer.
He knows
to
things
a cowboy.
about chickens.
That's because he's. Can we reveal his location?
He lives in a small town USA.
Hey, you don't know how good of a reference that just was, because he almost does live in small town USA. You don't? Do you know how good of a reference that was?
No, I was just
Okay.
trying to make a generic
The
name for
singer-
the city that he lives in.
The singer of that song lives just down the road from where Trailer Park lives.
And what city is that?
Poen is where he's
Poen.
from.
Poen.
Yeah.
And he sang a song.
Unless
called
I'm totally
Small
wrong.
Town.
Yeah, Justin Moore. He's from Poen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And he wrote a song called Small Town USA.
Yeah.
I don't listen to country music. I'm assuming that's what that is.
Yeah.
But
I think he wrote Small Town USA.
Shout out to Justin Moore.
Yep. He's a listener. He's the cowboy.
We'll ask him.
Yeah. Send him a letter. My dad delivers packages to him. My dad delivers for UPS.
Nice. And he delivers to... Does he live in Poland?
He did. He has a house in Poland. Yeah, I don't know if he still does. I'm assuming he probably spends a lot of time on the road.
Yeah. Or in Nashville.
Yeah.
I like that. I think we're a minute 56. That's solid.
A minute and 56? Or
we're on minute number 56.
We're eventually going to be longer than Joe Rogan's podcast. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 5-6 hours.
Yeah. 7.5 hours.
It is a full day commitment.
Yeah.
We're going to eat 3 meals.
Yeah. I'll eat each meal into the microphone. Taryn will love it.
You guys can just leave us rolling all day.
There'll be so much asthma in those episodes.
What if we did a live stream that long? Everybody could just have us on all day long. You could just come in, pop in and out, hang out with us.
Yeah, I do like that.
We wouldn't accomplish a thing.
No, that's about normal. It's just a normal Monday.
Just another manic Monday.
Just another manic Monday. Hey, who sings that?
Heyday Parade. I don't know who that. I think that's a punk rock band. Manic Monday, some girl.
I have to look it up.
Celine Dion.
That sounds right. Share. All right, guys. All right. Hope you've enjoyed these last few moments.
30th episode.
30th anniversary.
Is officially over.
Yep. We are approaching the hill.
Yep.
Middle age.
The podcast and myself are the same age.
Yep.
Well, in about 20 years, we'll be your age.
Yep. It's not that old.
Yeah, he's 50.
That math is wrong.
He's 50. We're into the podcast now.
I'm not. I'm going to take a nap.
Wow, look at my style. I know you ain't seen it like this in a while. Wow, tell them just turn me up loud. Looking in the crowd and I got them like, wow.